All right, let's quickly go over this federalism argument essay. It is due on Friday. I would highly recommend that as you sit down to write this, you pull up the rubric and have the rubric out as you're writing. So the prompt says, the federal government can share revenue with state governments through grants. We talked about those different types of grants in a lesson. Some grants, such as categorical grants, place constraints on how the states are allowed to spend the money. Other types of grants, such as block grants, allow the states greater authority to determine how the money is spent. Develop an argument that takes a position on which type of grant best serves the interests of citizens. So that is going to be your thesis. That is your argument. So you could say, for example, categorical grants best serve the interests of citizens because, make sure you put that because in there to establish a line of reasoning. And then you could list your two pieces of evidence, and then you would get into the discussion of your evidence. The other way that you could do it, for example, would be block grants best serve the interests of citizens because, and then you would list your pieces of evidence to establish that line of reasoning, and then get into those pieces of evidence. So it says use at least one piece of evidence from one of the following foundational documents: Brutus 1, the Federalist 51, both of those come from the Constitution unit, or the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution. So we talked about that in this federalism unit. In your essay, you must respond to the prompt with a defensible claim or thesis that establishes a line of reasoning. So again, we talked about those. Categorical grants best serve the interests of citizens because. Block grants best serve the interests of citizens because. You have to support your claim with at least one piece of specific and relevant evidence from one of the foundational documents listed above. So one of those three foundational documents that are listed, you have to use as evidence. A second piece of evidence can come from any other foundational document not used as your first piece of evidence or from your knowledge of course concepts. Okay, so anything else involving grants that you can use that we've discussed in class, or you can use one of those other foundational documents. And then you are to respond to an opposing or alternate perspective using refutation, concession, or rebuttal. So if you are in favor of categorical grants, the opposing view is going to be block grants. If you are in favor of block grants, the opposing view would be categorical grants, okay? So your response should have roughly 4 sections. You're going to have your thesis, okay? So laying out that line of reasoning. Then you're going to have your 2 pieces of evidence. You are going to make sure that when you lay out your evidence, you are using reasoning to support your thesis, okay? So don't just say the 10th Amendment says this, okay? What does that mean for your thesis, okay? How does that support your thesis? And then the last part is that rebuttal or refutation. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope that this helps you lay out your argument essay.